Okay, so for the panelists, like I said, hi, my name's Ria Jackson. I am the founder of Inclusive Minds UK, and this is our Q&A panel, Autism Beyond the, I've forgotten what it's called.
Across the
Autism Across
spectrum.
the Spectrum. There we go. So there you go. There's the first ND bit for you. Completely forgot where I was. Yes, I don't have autism that I know of at the moment. I'm currently going for some investigations because it's been announced from a little girl. And surprise, surprise, listening in. Oh, yes, that's me as well. So, there's some questions being asked there. But at the moment, I do have a diagnosis of ADHD and dyspraxia. But I felt it was really important to talk about autism because I've been having more and more interactions with clients and communities, and there's still a huge stigma as to what autism actually means and how it actually represents. So I thought it was really important to have that conversation and to also utilize it during Neurodiversity Celebration Week. I'm not sure I'd said this before I press record, so I'm going to say it again. Everybody on the panel here has volunteered their time, so I want to just say thank you very much for that. And I'm now going to hand over to everybody. And I've got your back, Andy, because I did ask her this question before, I should already forgot. I'm going to ask everybody just to introduce themselves and just a little bit about themselves and why they came on the panel. But because there are so many of you and I want to get into the juicy bits, if we can keep it short, I'd really appreciate that. And I'm going in no particular order. It's just who's on my picture. So I've got on my picture, I've got Andy next to me. So Andy, you're first.
Okay, I talk really, really fast. My name is Andy. I don't remember why I accepted being on this panel, but I know that I really like Ria, so I thought, why not? I think that in my personal experience, the Black people don't have these neurodivergent types, so I'm representing and saying, yes, we do. I'm dyslexic, autistic, and I have severe mental health conditions, and no, I wasn't misdiagnosed as mentally challenged or different, shall we say. I wanted to speak to other people like myself. I wanted to provide support for people, and I also think it's useful because there's no one size fits all for all of us. So how I show up in my complexities is not the way other people will. So it also helps the rest of us to understand the rest of us. That's all I can say right now because I've forgotten everything else you said.
That's fine.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so I've got Kirsty next. Are you okay to go, Kirsty?
Yep. Hi, my name is Kirsty. I am a Sen mom. My little sprog has a few cocktail mixed disabilities, that I like to call it, to keep it fun. I myself am neurospathy. At the moment, going through diagnosis process for autism and ADHD. I joined this panel purely because I wanted to, pretty much same as Andy, wanted to meet other neurodiverse people and also just be a voice in case something gets missed about Sen kids.
Awesome. And next, I think I've got Nick on the screen next.
Yeah, hi there. Nick. I was diagnosed with OCD when I was 11. I'm obviously a lot older than that now, but autism 2 years ago. And during that time, I built businesses, so like the CEO, 60 odd people, and I didn't feel I could come out and go, hello, everyone, I've got autism. So because I was responsible. So I then massed 2 years, had a huge burnout, got diagnosed with ADHD on top of it, and never went back. And now what we're doing is I found all of my support through peer-to-peer community, and we're now building a not-for-profit peer-to-peer community in the absence of resources globally, so we can lift people up from within the community.
Fantastic. And then I hope I say this right, but if I say it wrong, please don't hate me. Sine.
Close, it's Sonne, but that's fine.
Sonne.
I don't hate you.
Say it again, Sonne. Is that right?
Sonne. Yes, that's right.
Okay, it weren't that bad. It could have been worse. It could have been way worse.
Exactly. Yeah, I have had way worse, but I won't go into that now. So yeah, I'm Sonne. I'm late diagnosed autistic and ADHD at the age of 32 after lots of other diagnoses, mental health struggles, like the rest of the panelists have as well. I'm a lawyer and also an ADHD coach and a speaker as well. I accepted to come onto the panel because Ria asked me really nicely, but I also love to just share my perspective, like Andrea was saying, about coming from an ethnic background where people aren't autistic or aren't autistic. There's a lot of stigma around, and we don't fit the stereotypes. So that's something that I like to represent and say professionally as well. Coming from a legal background, autism was not really talked about. It's a bit more now. So I just like to share my perspective around that, and hopefully more people that fit that perspective feel more comfortable to come forward as well.
The question of ethnicities has been coming up quite a lot for me the last few weeks. In fact, it was mentioned in our panel yesterday, and I think I can see Paula, who was in our panel yesterday, watching today. So I think we're going to actually try and put something together in regards to that. So watch the space. But yes, Dr. Joe, you're next on my picture. Nice to virtually meet you.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, Joe is absolutely fine.
I know, but I really like Dr. Joe. It just sounds really cool.
Don't go by Dr. Joe. One of those things where people ask on a plane, like, is there a doctor here? No, I'm not that sort of doctor. Hi, everybody. I'm Joe Carlisle. I'm a clinical psychologist. I worked sort of just over 15 years in the NHS, working in kind of ADHD, autism services. And then I left 5 years ago to start my own practice. So I now work mainly with people who have neurodivergent minds, but not always. See people individually, and also work with businesses who are wanting to feel they're trying to create environments that are more neuro-inclusive. I came on this panel because it's any kind of conversations that help the narratives that we've spoken about already. I want to be part of, and I want I can help in any way. And I also have a neurodivergent mind. I definitely kind of see myself within the spectrum, and it's no surprise I kind of work in this field. So yeah, I have to go at 1 o'clock on the dot, so I will just have to quickly exit if things are in full swing. But yeah, delighted to be here.
I'm going to do my best for time management, but I'll be honest with you, time management is not my skill. But yes, I will do my best. Next, we've got Gemma Peebles. You got the full title today. I don't know why I said the surname. Apologies. Gemma.
Hi, yeah. Andy, don't worry about muting me. I'm in college, so there will be background noise, so I will keep muting if I'm not speaking, not a problem. So everyone, I'm Gemma Peebles. I'm the CEO and founder of Harrison College. I was a teacher in mainstream for 13, 14 years, and then, as many people do, left this system because it is incredibly broken. And I was a consultant for a few years working in post-16 provision. I'm specialised in improving schools in regards to Ofsted. Through that, I started to identify gaps in the education system, so I set up Harrison College. It is a post-16 specialist provision. We're based in Doncaster. We work with young people with autism, but also with other neurodiverse needs such as dyslexia, anxiety, ADHD. The main difference with us is that we are focused on careers education. We have a skills-based programme with employer-led projects. We work with over 250 businesses across South Yorkshire, and all of our young people go into internships into the business community, as you would expect at university on a sandwich course. And we have a 91% average success rate with destinations, so young people going into employment. We also work with businesses to do workshops in terms of employing more neurodiverse people into their workforce, making a more inclusive workforce, a bit like Joe. I am not neurodiverse, but I work with a lot of young people, obviously, that are. And so, yeah, so I'm here just to kind of probably give an education, but also a very much work-based perspective, because we do things very differently at Harrison College. I also am a director of the Chamber of Commerce, so I'm trying to feed neurodiversity and inclusivity through the Chamber network as well. I will now mute Andy.
And then last, but obviously by no means least, we've got Chris, who by accident, I actually didn't mean to do this, but we've got two people from the same company. It wasn't actually done on purpose, so apologies about that.
So I'm Chris, and I meeting with Andy as well. Can you hear me all right? Yeah? No? On a train. Beautiful. So I'll try and speak up. I don't want to shout on the train. So I'm Chris, autistic, and I have been working in FM for well over 30 years. I do these types of things. I do speaking events because I want to inspire the next generation to come into facilities management. I have 4 boys at home, all neurodivergent, and I'm trying to inspire them to get out and work and to have successful careers.
Fantastic. I think I got that. I'm actually a bit deaf in my left ear, so I struggled a little bit. But if we have got transcripts, so if there is anything that you import and people haven't heard it, we will be able to see it on the transcript. So just a little bit more about me to make you aware of why I put these together. So I run an organisation called Inclusive Minds UK, and I very much concentrate on neuro inclusion, which is why all my panels are so diverse, which include those that have come from what I like to call the neuro majority, from lots of different communities and different backgrounds, because I often feel that at the moment within our own community, there's a lot of the same voices and a lot of the same conversations, and I kind of want to move a little bit away from them and give voice to those people who don't often get to have a platform. So that's why we've got such diverse panels. So I appreciate the messages that came up in the chat to say that we need to have that representation as well, because absolutely, of course we do, because if we're going to be neuro inclusive, then it's about everybody and it's everybody's responsibility. So that's a little bit about me. So I'm going to just now everyone's introduced themselves. I think what I'll do is I'll kick off with a quick question. I'm going to let whoever wants to answer at this point, because we are starting off, just take the floor when they feel comfortable to do so. But I'll try and make sure that everybody gets a voice throughout the actual session. So, and if you've got any questions as well, for those who are watching, please do put them in the chat. I will do my utmost to keep up with them. What somebody said here, for anyone struggling to hear, live captions are picking Chris up. Go on more, the 3 dots, and then turn on live captions.
It's a game changer. It's an absolute game changer. It's correct.
Okay, so yes, live captions. If I put them on, will they put them on for everybody?
I think it's subjective.
Oh, right, okay. Yes, so if you are struggling, thanks, Stacey. She's got my back. Go on more, the 3 dots, language and speech, and then turn on live captions. And I've just done it myself, and awesome, we're off. Okay, so I'm just gonna open the floor with, we've got the statement, haven't we? Autism is not a one size fits all. There is a diversity of the autistic experience, and I'd just like to for you to share what your experiences are just with yourself and working in the arenas that you do and the diversity that you see within it, so that we can start breaking down some of the stigmas and start breaking down some of the stereotypes, and obviously talk about how it presents differently across different age groups, genders, and diverse groups as well, and marginalized groups, shall we say. So what's your experience? Who's going to go? Someone help me, help a sister out. In fact, I'm going to direct it. I'm going to direct it. Sonny, you asked me to direct. I'm doing it, and I hope I said your name right this time. You can go first. The floor is yours, my lovely.
Yeah, I was just about to start talking, so perfect. Yeah, so I've had the classic, but you don't look autistic. And I'm sure a lot of people on the panel, but people generally will have experienced that. And there is a stigma out there. People think we're all like Elon Musk, for example, and it's like, no, I couldn't be more different to him. So I think it's important that people do have an open mind. If someone comes to you saying I'm autistic, or even shares some of the struggles that they might have, they might not have a label for it yet. I mean, I was late diagnosed, loads of people were late diagnosed, and I think it's important that we just take on board what people say they're struggling with, and then try and support, rather than that onus being on people to say, I'm autistic, this is what it means, this is what I need. Just being a bit more supportive of everyone.
I love that idea, because especially the clients that I work with, for some people, the diagnostic process has been really affirming and validating for them on one level, and they've felt really seen, and lots of things start to make sense. But also at the same time, they felt really, again, misseen, because the label, the word autistic or ADHD or whatever the word is used, feels like, well, but what does that mean to me? That's just you could put 10 people in the room that have been given the label of autistic, but every single person, their experience of autism, their experience of the way that they're wired, how they think about things, what they need in their life is so different. So I do feel like that the diagnostic process can be so helpful, but also that doesn't take away that it can also be quite triggering in itself.
Can I just say as well that I think things started to click in place for me, because I know that I mentioned this in my intro, and I know a lot of people talk about that people who are autistic have been misdiagnosed as having certain personality disorders and all of that. However, the opposite was correct for me. It made sense that I was autistic because of my mental health situation. So the thing, I don't fit any tick box. So I knew that I got overwhelmed, my senses got overwhelmed, my hearing got, sharper and everything. And it helped me understand that when I was going through an episode, one of my mental health episodes, that actually it also then heightens my autism and my stims and everything as well. So it kind of gave me that freedom to realize, look, I don't mind having a personality disorder. I don't mind being autistic, but understanding that both of them work alongside me and are both a part of me, and one doesn't negate the other, that has really helped. And this is not like a plug for the business that Chris and I work for, but being able to feel like I can come into a place that had an autistic person already there and whose autism was different from my own, it really helped me tell people about it. So I know I'm like Sine, I don't necessarily go to everyone, I'm autistic, look at me, it's fantastic. But I've did it with my direct reports, and in this exact meeting room that I'm in today, one of my direct reports booked the room until 3 p.m. because he knew that after that time I shut down and everything starts to overwhelm me. So him knowing that and being in a company that understands that and knowing that it's the mental health and autism, they've all just sort of made my world so much brighter, sort of, brighter in an autistic way and brighter in general. But yeah, so the diagnosis helps me, I find.
Or for me, it was watching my daughter and looking at things and going, I do that. Oh, I do that. Oh, and then kind of like piecing it all together and going like, oh, maybe I should get like a little assessment done. And then I fought with myself for a long time, and I was like, what's the point? Like, what kind of support am I going to get now? Why should I bother? I'm old. Do you know what I mean? All the excuses that you make for yourself. And then somebody said to me, but what if she asks you one day? And I'm like, oh, that's a really good point. Like, I didn't think about that. And because she is the only one who has a diagnosis in our household, it made me think about, how isolated she would feel. And I thought, wow, okay, maybe I should actually go ahead and just get the assessment done, because even if it comes back and says like, you know, you haven't ticked all the right boxes to be, to have a diagnosis or whatever, intrinsically, I already know. So I will always be able to say to her, like, well, I mean, come on, you got that from your mama type thing. But if we have the diagnosis, then at least she won't feel so alone, if that makes sense.
I think
It's
having
still
panels like this, though, is really good when with you saying about feeling so alone as well. Because one of the questions that's come up in the chat, I just wanted to just mention it because I don't want to miss somebody's question, is they've mentioned about their daughter showing signs of neuro differences, emotional and sensory overwhelm, anxiety, very shy, etc. But the NHS route, as we all know, can be very, very long. And I think this is a really good question for Gemma, to be fair. But the NHS, she's mentioned the school's watching her, but she feels that it might be too late for to help her ready for her GCSEs next June, especially as she's already struggling. Is there any way to help her at home or somewhere, someone I speak to, get the ball rolling? I think I am also neurospicy but undiagnosed. So I think that'd be a really good one for you, Gemma.
Yeah, no problem. Hi, Zara. First of all, we speak to a lot of our young people who come to us, and we discussed this yesterday, a business that we did some training at, that young people think that GCSEs are the be-all and end-all of life, and that if they don't get English and maths, that their life is over and nobody will employ them. That's absolutely untrue. It is based purely on the DfE's league tables for schools. When we work with our employers are not interested generally in a whole bank of paper and a whole bank of certificates. What they're interested in is that young person employability ready? Are they able to go into a workforce and demonstrate leadership, teamwork, communication, resilience? So one thing around sorry, my phone is beeping because like I said, I'm in college. One thing around your daughter having worries about GCSEs, please reassure her it is not the end of the world. Is the main key thing there. All schools should be able to put support in place for it. So the school, if you speak to the school Senko, even if she hasn't got a diagnosis, a SEND statement can be put in place. They can apply for support in exams. So you would need to ask them to submit a Form 8 to exam board. That's where she can have extra time, do her exams in a separate room. That can all be done without a diagnosis whatsoever. That is based on your daughter's traits and what happens in school. The school can do that for her. It's very much about them gathering evidence. An EHCP process should take 20 weeks, but I'm sure Joe will have experienced where they take a lot longer. Some local authorities are better than others. If you are wanting your daughter to have support, GCSE and beyond, an EHCP would be a good way to start to get that support in place. But things can be done without it and can be done without a diagnosis. That's not the key for school. And for your daughter, please reinforce with her that pieces of paper are not the answer to the world. Lots of entrepreneurs, lots of people left school at 14, 15, didn't get qualifications. All of our young people come with a complete mixed bag of qualifications, and all of our employers welcome our students into various different roles. So please don't worry. If you do want more support, I'm sure Ria can give you my email address, and my Senko can offer you support if your school isn't helping particularly.
Could I add
Absolutely
something on
can.
that, Ria? Could I add something on that, please?
Yeah.
So just in reference to sorry, the person who raised the question. So I've got 2 GCSEs in art, and I won't swear, I'm rubbish at art as well, which is ironic. Because I can't sit tests, I can't do interviews. So I made my own way, and I've built and sold 6 businesses. But I still never go into a job interview now to do any kind of job. It's all about understanding. I want to create a GCSE called My Brain and Me that it's got I won't swear again, nothing to do with algebra, that
Yes,
talks about,
please.
Swear,
Do
it's
it.
okay.
but it helps young people look at their character strengths, what saboteurs are, what their executive functioning is, and shows them that when they use all those in the right way, they'll find an amazing career and nothing else really matters.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I just wanted to add one little thing on. It's something that I did in a past life because I got a very squiggly career. But I actually used to do personal tutoring as well for students that were autistic and ADHD. And I know there's quite a lot of people there, and I got some fantastic results working. And most of it wasn't anything to actually do with academics. Most of the work that I did with these students was actually based on their self-esteem and their understanding of everything that Nick just said. So how their brain works, what works for them, how they can manage it, what their executive function are, what overwhelms them, what situations that they can take themselves out of, if necessary, and how to take themselves out of them in a positive way rather than, finding what other people, this seemed to be used a lot in schools, was causing a scene, which then brought on guilt and shame and embarrassment, which isn't necessary. So there was a lot of things like that, which actually it turned out it was nothing to do with their academics. It was to do with how they supported themselves as a person. But there's plenty of people, and if you wanted some connections, I'm not sure where you are in the world, but I'm sure I could find somebody that might be able to help you. So please do get in contact afterwards. But we've got a couple of hands up. I don't know whose hand up went first. So in fact, it
Andy's
says
has number
so
1
Andy.
next to it.
Andy's got 1. I saw it. I got there in the end.
So funny enough, I was thinking about what Nick just said and what Zara's written. So I'm not suggesting this for any educational people, but for your daughter, I would say, like what you've said, Ria, is how do you learn? How are you what is it you're trying to achieve? I mean, I'm rubbish at maths. I just didn't sit the test in the end. I thought, sod this, I'm going to use my energy somewhere else, where I'm actually going to make a difference. But for example, my English literature GCSE, I do recall very much not attending any classes, not being able to focus because it wasn't in a way that made me happy. So I got really angry and stressed and was like, sod this. And and it was on Lord of the Flies, and all I did was read the blurb, and I knew one character's name, and for some reason, the way my brain operates, I managed to ace that GCSE. So I think that regardless of textbook, psychologist, doctor's diagnosis, your daughter is going to be the only person that knows what kind of works for her, especially considering hormones as well. So just have a conversation with her, I would say. Hope I don't sound like I'm being, a bit too preachy, but yeah, have a conversation with her. She probably knows herself better than she thinks she does.
Chris, you've got your hand up. You please.
I was just going to say about schools. I have 4 boys, as I mentioned in my intro, and there's 10 years difference between 2 of the boys and the other 2, and they're all neurospicy. Our family, our household is crazy, but the 2 older boys were diagnosed, and we requested support at school. The support just wasn't there back then. But now our twins are not diagnosed, but they're definitely autistic. But the support is there at schools, and the schools are recognizing things a lot quicker now and a lot better. And there's more, because there's more talks and there's more people talking about autism and ADHD, etc. The schools are already better, and they're equipping for everybody in classrooms. They're not waiting for people to say, I need help, I need support. And I know that can be a bit of a postcode lottery whether the school have got those supports, but the school that our boys have all gone to have that support now in clubs, and we've found it really, really helpful. Not having to go and ask for help. The schools are there assessing people and helping along. And doing those in the classrooms. So I think it has changed massively. But just asking the questions of the schools of, is there any support? Without a diagnosis, I know our school does that. Without diagnosis, they will help and they will support, because it is widely available nowadays.
Can I just
I'd just
also
put some comments in there as well, because I agree with what you've just said. My daughter isn't diagnosed yet, but the apple definitely hasn't fell far from the tree. She's 8 years old and she's just entered play therapy for big emotions. My daughter cannot. She's got auditory processing differences to myself, so I'm having to learn more about that, because I process things really, really fast. But if you give information to my daughter too fast, her head will fall off and we go into full-on tantrum mode. If I give too many instructions all at once, her head will completely fall off. If she has something that touches her that she doesn't like, her head's going to fall off. And she's very good at throwing down because she's my daughter, so of course she is. But yes, whereas I am used to I speak really fast. I give instructions really fast. I'm also ex-military, so I'm very direct. And sometimes that can overwhelm her, and that can also make her think I'm telling her off when I'm not. In my head, I'm thinking I'm talking like Mary Poppins, but I'm not. And that's the differences in it, how she's receiving it is completely different. So you can imagine the storming, numbing and forming that's been happening in my household as a mother and a daughter. So yeah, so we've been going through that. So I know all this stuff because I don't know all of it, but I know a lot of it. So I don't know whether I was arrogant or naive, and I tried to help her. But ultimately, she's my daughter. She wants me to be a mum. She doesn't want me to help her. And I wouldn't have wanted my mum either, because I'd have just felt like she was getting on me. So I had to remind myself of that. And I went to the school and did exactly what you said and said, what do you have? How can you support? Because this isn't working. Because she was completely masking at school and it was all happening when she come home. And lo and behold, a safe space, me, was copying it. So it was really, really affecting us. So yeah, it is. I'm not saying it's where it needs to be in schools, and I'm sure that Gemma will absolutely agree with me. Hence the reason why she set up her own academy. But it is getting better. I mean, I actually went in there with armor on, ready to have a war. And when they said, "Oh, you can have it," I was a bit like, "Oh, what I wasn't expecting this. What do I do now?"
Ria, can I just? You said something there, and I think it's also something that needs to be brought up in this situation is that you like I said, your neurospiciness is different from your daughter's, and how she presents is different. So the one thing I have to mention on this call is something that used to really, really pee me off. Okay, and there was a woman in my old workplace
They're
who
all
was
being so polite.
well, no, it pissed me off, right? It pissed me off And what she did was she went to my line manager and told my line manager that she thought I had ADHD. All right. And she kept coming to me going, "You've got ADHD. You've got ADHD." I went, "No, no, I just talk fast. I walk fast. My brain is completely chaotic. How dare you try to diagnose me just because you think you know what ADHD looks like?" Turns out I couldn't be further from ADHD if I tried. Okay. I've been tested. Not a lick of it. Okay. But that's the thing that we have problems with as well. At least I find as well, is people trying to diagnose me. And when in fact, like you say, it's completely different. And so I would say as well, it's always being mindful of some people are just can be neurotypical, right, but have certain traits, and people can be neurodivergent that have different traits. And I just want to make sure that's known, because I hate the fact that people feel they have to be labeled. And as much as I did say what my labels were, right, I don't fit into any box. I'm just like a smorgasbord. I'm just all over the place. So that can be also kind of limiting to people as well. They think they have to act a certain way because autism is this. They have to act a certain way because ADHD is this, or typical is this. So and it puts pressure on people as well. And then you find that it sort of adds to your own crazy, trying to live by the people's standards. So that's just my thing I'd say when it comes from an autistic, eclectic perspective. By the way, we're all super, super polite because it goes quiet for a good few seconds before someone speaks after. So I just had to state that because it's making me feel a bit awkward.
Just go in. Just go in. Don't be quiet.
Yeah?
Just go in. I'm
But
awful.
Can I
all
jump
too
in?
Don't
polite.
let me look bad.
Yeah.
Don't let me look bad.
Can I jump in just after what you just said there, Andy? Because it made me think about how I feel. I mean, labels are great, when you start to understand your brain, it provides a path. But what I'd really love is, more workplaces and even schools actually to incorporate stuff like working with me documents. I think there's like a memo me is like another version I've seen where people just talk about how they work best or how their brain works. So we're not relying on, here's a label, this is me, because even if you're neurodivergent, you present differently. So just by getting people to think about how they work best, are you sound sensitive? Might not be autistic, you might just be sound sensitive. Just looking at those things that people can then put in a document and then be supported to work best, to study best, rather than relying on these sort of broad labels on how people are meant to be.
And do you know what? Do you know what's really interesting? You say there was a woman that's on this call who actually said something very clever once that I reposted. It said, "Every brain is different regardless of what you're diagnosed with." I don't know if she remembers that she said it, but it was what made me join this panel, actually. I don't remember.
I think it's so important because it's exactly it's exactly how I work with people. Is I think of these sort of a triad of things. I think about, how is your brain wired? So, how are you as an individual? How do you respond to the world? And then I also think about, where are you in your life stage? Like, where are you at? What transitions are going on? What's happening to your stress levels? Like, just where are you as an individual? And then finally, what are your strengths? What's your resilience? What builds you up? And I still find it's so staggering still that so many people I work with don't know this stuff about themselves. They don't know how their individual brains are wired. They don't know how individual life stages can impact on people, and they don't know their own strengths. And I loved what Nick said earlier around that idea of, why do we not have a GCSE in ourselves? Because really that's what we need early doors is, okay, who am I? How am I wired? In what environments am I going to thrive in what environments might I struggle with? What are my biggest superpowers? What are my biggest resilience, like, that I can keep growing? Because ultimately it's not going to mean you're not going to struggle in life. Like, life's still going to be stressful, but you're going to be much better equipped to dealing with the stuff that life throws at you. And you may end up in a therapeutic space because you may want to kind of get some help with something, or you may want to grow in some way, but you're already your own therapist. You're already knowing so much more. And our system is still pretty backwards with that, but we're trying to get there at some point.
I couldn't like that. For me, I mean, it's amazing really, because we're already starting to get into the conversation that we talked about on the ADHD panel. So it obviously clearly is something in the neurodifferent world and community that everybody feels prominently and very strongly about. It needs to be about the person, but that's why I chose neuroinclusion. I didn't speak about neurodiversity because we've got it. It's here whether we like it or not. It exists. We're not getting away from it. It's a fact. But
Yeah.
neuroinclusion is a choice. And for me, that comment that you made earlier about there are, things are going to be challenged, things are going to stress you, you are going to have difficult times, and that's the same for everybody on the planet. And for me, it's about having that understanding of the individual and meeting people where they are at and asking the question. And it doesn't have to be really hard. It doesn't have to be a big overhaul of your policies or, buy a sexy yurt that sits in the corner of your office that has all the sensory things. It doesn't have to be anything like that. It can be, I mean, I wouldn't refuse it if someone bought me a sexy yurt like, but the point is, it's not, you don't have to have that. It can be as simple as just asking in the beginning of a meeting, how best you like to communicate. Or like I sent you, don't worry if you don't want to have your camera on. Because it doesn't really affect me. You're still going to talk. You're still going to do what you need to do. It can be really, it's the small things that make the big impacts for me. And I can't be, I'm very, very surprised, even though I haven't tailored this, by the way, but we're literally ending up in exactly the same, like, very similar conversation and context of what we were yesterday on the ADHD panel. So I think that is definitely something to note.
No, at least all of our different neuronisses are all on the same page in one aspect, then, aren't we? I like that.
I just want to jump in on something that Sine and Dr. Joe. That it has a ring. I'm sorry.
Please,
It has a ring. It's so cool. It's so cool. But
I've
Dr.
set
Joe
a trend
just
off now.
sounds
It's
super
Dr. Joe. Sorry.
Something that you both mentioned, and it just clicked in my brain because this is what we do for my daughter. So, although she's only like nearly 6, can't believe it, but she has, I think she's on her 4th round now of emotional related school avoidance. I think that's what it's called. I don't know. ERSA, whatever. So basically, mainstream just doesn't work for her. And it doesn't matter how many times we've tried to prove that to our local authority. It just seems to be a repeated exercise over and over again. Oh, well, but you haven't tried her in one school. Anyway, the fight continues. But what we do for her every time she does end up going to a new provision is we have this little like pack, and it's I'm quite proud of it actually. It's all about the Harper pack, and Harper's my daughter's name. And basically it has like what we call a learning passport. So it describes everything about her, what she can handle, what she can't handle, what are her triggers, how does she learn well, what is she like when you can see she's beginning to go into that meltdown stage, how can you help her to either not escalate into like a full meltdown, or if she is in that stage, what can you do to support her during that time. And it took a lot of observation from myself, because there were times where she was homeschooled. She still is now. It's kind of like a hybrid thing. But it took a lot of observation and a lot of trial and error and a lot of getting things wrong and then celebrating when you got things right. And I think these little packs that we do for our children are quite vital, and I think really every school should have that for neurodiverse children, because like you said, nobody thinks the same, even if they're not neurodivergent, even if they're neurotypical.
Yeah.
No one in the world thinks the same way, right? So
I think it should be for everybody.
It amazes me. Yeah, like it amazes me that people put such a huge focus on the fact that, oh, it's only neurodivergent children that we need to be aware of, like how they learn differently. And understandably, yes, maybe more focus needs to be on that, but the realization is not everyone is the same. Seriously, like I don't think I've ever met 2 people who are exactly the same. So those like learner passports are really, really important. And also, I think, especially when it comes to being a parent, you always have to be like 2-3 steps ahead of the school, 2-3 steps ahead of your local authority. For just for my experience, I've had to study Sen law, which I can tell you is not fun for me. I don't do law. It's hard.
Well, maybe it's a good job that
but
you've met Sane
the
then,
reason,
because she'll be able to help you.
yeah, oh my god, it's so hard. But what I found was I wasn't getting the support that we needed. I wasn't being told the truth about what our rights were, what we were actually entitled to. And a lot of the time, I just felt like we were being pushed aside, and my daughter was just being swept under the rug. And so I took it upon myself to start studying Sen law. So, I mean, do it if you want to. It's really hard. But another thing that I did was I started to get all these disability rights handbooks. So I can show you. That's kind of. Oh, I don't
We
think you
can't
can
see
see it.
it. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. So every year they update them. And it was really helpful for me because obviously with all the updates that come, whenever I now need to speak to professionals or speak to the schools or the local authority, a lot of people will try to pull the wool over my eyes. And I'll say, well, actually, did you know that in like the Child and Family Act, blah blah blah, section this, that's actually, against the law. So maybe you should, rethink about that sentence and come back to me when you have a truthful answer. And I'm not gonna lie, you make a lot of enemies that way. Not everyone, they see my name, they're like, oh God, not her again. But this is the fight that we have to have for our children, and especially now that all the new legislation is coming in, which is, yeah, I don't even want to think about it.
I think this is
Anyway, sorry.
often the story I'm hearing, not just for parents, but for just anybody that's involved with neuro differences, whether it's advocating for themselves, for the children, for someone they care about, which, I agree. I like I said, I went into the school for waiting for a war and was reading up on things myself. But I think Sane's been patient, very patient. You're all impressing me with your patience. And she's had her hand up, ready to speak.
Yeah, well, I mean, you mentioned law, so obviously my alarm bells in my head
Spidey
go ding, ding,
senses.
ding. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you touched on something that I'm really passionate about, is getting people to know their rights, and it should be taught in schools. I don't know why it isn't, and one of those being, not just send law, but employment rights, because I see it. So one of the areas I practice in is employment law, and I see it all the time. Neurodivergents are discriminated against in the workplace. They don't know their rights, and they just let it slide, and they're in really toxic work environments. I've been in it myself. Even though I'm a lawyer, I can't really advocate for myself as well. I'm better at doing it for others. And people are being dismissed because they're neurodivergent, and it's just awful. And employers get away with it because they don't know. So that's something that I'm trying to do, is trying to hopefully get more people to know what their rights are until the government does something about it, so that people aren't just being left to be discriminated against and not have any power to do anything about it.
Gemma?
I'm always very patient, or when you do get to know me, I kind of, the patience starts to slide once I get to know people.
I'm not patient. It's not the skill I've got.
Just on education and interactions with parents. So I have 3 Senkos working at the college, and we only have 60 students. So we do have a high level of support for our students, and particularly doing parent interaction. This is a Marmite. And Harrison College is Marmite, so we don't suit everybody, and our approach doesn't suit everyone. It might be why Ria found me, because sometimes we do things a little bit differently. My biggest advice for parents: it's really hard, but try not to go to schools having a war and with that intention to have a war, because then you won't get your way. The biggest advice I can give you is try to work with the schools, work with the contacts and the professionals that you've got, and try to build a 3-way working relationship where you've got yourself, your young person, and then professionals, whether it be educational psychologists, CAMs, mental health workers, assets teams, schools. Because if you go in intentionally to fight and be, I am saying my rights, then it can cause some staff, and we've seen it, and we have parents that have been fighting for 11 years, and they come in and they're shouting at Sean for the very first time he meets them, and he's going, hang on a minute, I'm only asking, are you okay? I'm only
I think
asking how
I
can I
want to just
help
like
that
make
new
myself clear
person?
for a second. When I said war, I didn't necessarily mean that I was going for a war. I just meant that I expected it to be harder than what it was. I had every intention of. I know that you get more flies with honey than you do with vinegar, and having been a teacher myself for many moons, and I left like you did because I couldn't deal with. I was hiding in disabled toilets. But yes, when I say a war, it was just like my northern like humour. I was just going in waiting for a battle. So when it came so easily, I was very surprised. The battle wasn't necessarily against the teachers because I know they want to support my kid, but it was against the system.
Yeah, and then that's kind of really what I'm trying to get at. The teachers and the staff that you see face to face have very little control over a lot of the time what they can do. They will do their utmost if they're in teaching for the right reason, and if they're in working in schools to help young people and to get young people to a future that is right for them, then they will be doing what they can for the young people. The problem is funding, the problem is time, and the problem, unfortunately, our problem particularly are local authorities, because local authorities hold the purse strings. Local authorities often dictate what we can and cannot do with provision. We sit outside quite a lot of frameworks, so we can be very bespoke and individualized. And as I was saying, we don't use labels in college. We don't talk about excuses that I can't do this because I've got this label or that. It's very much you can. We find strategies to do it, and we focus on things that will move young people forward. As everyone's kind of echoed, we're all individuals. We don't go into workplaces and say treat anyone differently. We say you treat every employee as an individual. You get to know the individual, get to know the person, you can find out what makes them tick and also what sets them off on a massive rant. So I will say to my staff, they know if I shut my office door in the morning, they don't come and see me till about 11 o'clock. And that's my trait and that's my way of communicating with staff. And we're all different. So I guess a couple of things there, but we do approach things slightly differently here at the college.
Because I know Ria's going to start wrapping us up shortly, right? But I have to get this out, only because I am known for devil's advocacy. I fully agree with Gemma when it comes to schools. I was having this conversation earlier, you know, we trust people with our children's primary care and primary socialization and secondary socialization and all of that. And I understand where Ria's coming from, going in ready for a battle, but not necessarily a war. I will say on the flip side, when it comes to work, I completely disagree with that method and approach, purely because adults should know better. Now, I'm not saying it's a whole organization, right? You can't judge an organization by one person, but there are people out there, regardless of what your differences or your traits are, that are just dicks and will do anything they can to screw over anyone they can. So I'll refer back. I had to reach out to people on LinkedIn last year and tell them, look, I'm unemployed. I'm about to sign on. I left early because my mental health and my traits were all, you know, being that's the best I can do right now. I've lost my words. And there was a recruitment company, and these recruiters and everyone's always going on about inclusion and diversity and all this nonsense when you don't actually give a toss. And what I said to the guy was, and I did it on LinkedIn. I didn't care. I told them to do better. I said, don't sit there saying that you're inclusive and that you're there for this person, that person, when there are people who aren't as resilient as me. There are people who aren't as vocal as me about what I can and can't do. And so with Kirsty, you know, advocating for her daughter and people trying to pull the wool over her eyes, and Sune, you know, you're saying it as well. Sometimes I think, yeah, the schools, we give them the benefit of the doubt because they're learning along with the children they're raising. But with the grown-ups, you have no excuses. Everyone is different. Ask someone a bloody question. That's just my personal feeling on the matter. I'm very direct, sorry. But I completely agree with what Gemma said about schools.
But to be honest, I think what Gemma was saying is that the school, Tom Harrison, and you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I got the impression what you were saying is that you take that approach in your school. It's not about, you know, there might be children, but you still want to treat them as a human being and ask them the question. Ask them what they need, ask them what they want, because they're just tiny humans. They're not like a new alien species.
Just to clarify, no, I was completely on her side, but it's because
I know.
because Gemma mentioned schools
I agree with you that it needs to be in schools as well. It needs to just be that human approach. I massively agree with you. I think it just needs to be like exactly what you said. Ask the questions, be curious, meet people where they're at. Don't, you know, non-judgmental. All that, you know, all the good buzzwords that are out and about at the moment. But for me, it goes back to that phrase that you said, don't be a dick.
Sorry, yeah, essentially.
Yeah, and it's like that whether it's in school, in work, in communities, everywhere. We're all different, and there's going to be my husband is the best person I know, and anyone who's had any affiliation with me whatsoever knows full well what my feelings are about that man. But there's things about him that I would absolutely love to punch his throat in, because he sits there picking his fingers and does weird stuff like that, and he does the man look. But that doesn't mean that I love him any less. We've all got things that are different, and things that are annoying, and things that are irritating, and so on and so forth. But it's about meeting and different understandings. We often have difference of opinions, particularly like with my little girl, because he's neuromajority. So he finds some of the stuff like overwhelming because he doesn't understand it, because he hasn't got our perspective.
But Ria, question
so, yeah.
for you about your husband's picking his this and picking his that. Is that his issue or your issue? That's another question that comes from it.
Absolutely,
You see,
my issue.
you've always got to
My
think like that
issue.
as well.
I'm very self-aware, but I'm not just self-aware now. I'm able to be self-accepting as well, which are two different things, I think. But yeah, it's definitely my problem. Still want to punch his throat in though, not gonna lie.
That would be a you problem.
It's definitely a me problem, but he lives with me, so he has to take that on board. But anyway, we're going off piste as usual. But yes, we are going to wrap up in about 10 minutes time. There is something that I want to talk about though, that we haven't mentioned, that somebody did ask me a question about prior to this meeting. And it was about, and I wouldn't mind knowing a bit more about it, because I'm starting to experience it now with more so with myself, I've come to realise, and my little girl. Sensory processing. It's a big thing in the world of autism. Talk to me about that. What people's experiences with that?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
happy to
it's
jump.
one of the
Oh,
biggest
sorry, go on.
things. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, go on, Joe.
I was just going to say, yeah, it's one of the biggest things that I think we don't talk about as a society enough. There's still this idea that it falls just within a neurodivergent mind. Actually, the way we experience the world and the way that our senses absorb information, because it's through all slightly different methods, applies to every single one of us. And I love the conversations we're having now. It's like, get to know the individual. Yeah, and part of that is their sensory needs. And I think still it's not talked about enough, and it's not thought about enough.
Agreed. Sorry, I'm just gonna jump in. I had this with my daughter. So she was diagnosed really young with sensory, what did they call it? Sensory processing disorder. And I fought with them to get that changed because I said it's not a disorder, it's difficulties. And so her official diagnosis now says sensory processing difficulties. And I think it's really important for people to understand that as human beings, we have difficulties. I know, there's certain foods I can't eat because I can't stand the texture of it. There's certain things that my husband can't stand me doing because it makes his teeth itch. That's what he says. He says it makes my teeth itch. And I think everybody has these things where we process our senses differently. So it's just, I think words as well carry a lot of weight as to how we represent ourselves. And so that's why it's really important to, when you're identifying these things in diagnosis and things like that, if you're not comfortable with the way that they're putting you forward, say something. Honestly, people don't ever think that they'll get what they are asking for, but a lot of the time it's purely just down to the fact that you should ask. Otherwise, you'll never get that. And I'm so sorry, Sine, because I know I jumped in when you were going, so I'm gonna shut up now.
Well, Nick,
sorry.
who's going to
okay.
go? Nick or Sine? Is it? Do you want to go?
I can go quite quickly if you want.
Go on.
That's right. So, it's just a really quick example, and I think it comes back to the diagnosis thing. And I can say this now without any shame, but my 14-year-old kid, since the day he was born, I can't sit in the same room as him as he eats, which is difficult as a parent because you want to eat with your kids. It literally destroys me. And it was only when I got I attributed that to something about OCD for years, but when I got my diagnosis and then I understood about all the other sensory stuff, blah, 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 it's only now, like, we're at a stage where if I'm particularly stressed and it's really going to go off, I don't feel like a shit parent. I don't kick off. I just go, I'm going to go and eat somewhere else. And the kids just laugh at me as I walk out. But until that point, I felt like the worst parent on earth. But I now just accept the permission that I can't do anything about it. And he's just eating. So
Nick, I'm not a parent, but I have to say I think that makes you an amazing parent. I know you may have thought you were a shit parent, but I think that makes you an amazing parent to say, I can't stand being in the room while my child eats. So good for you.
I agree.
sorry, Sonny, you go.
Hang on, I couldn't
There
even
we go.
unmute for a second. Yeah, no, that's fine. I was just going to share sort of my experience, because I'm on that side where I have really, really sensitive senses, all of them. But I know there's people who are on the complete opposite end of the spectrum and don't hear, smell anything. My husband's one of those, although maybe he just doesn't hear me. But yeah, I think for me, I've found it's one of the things that makes me feel most disabled, especially so I live in London, so going on the train, and it's just too noisy. Even with, these are really good headphones, even with these on, I can hear everyone, and people squishing me, and people eating stinky food, and lights are bright, and it's horrible. And I think it's one of those things that, again, bringing it back to workplaces, schools, that could probably be managed a lot more effectively. Why don't we look at how environments are set up for people, and can we say, if you're bringing stinky food in, keep it to one corner, the kitchen, don't bring it into the main office, and stuff like that, so that, again, we're just helping people a lot more.
Yeah, I think there's a whole spectrum there, I think, as well, when it comes to like the sensory side of things, because I don't think I realized until recently that I actually do have sensory issues, because now I'm more aware of them and I'm seeing them in my daughter. I'm starting to recognize my own, whereas I just accepted them as that was me and that was what it was. It don't really make a difference that now I understand that the sensory, but I think, well, actually, that's a lie. It is making a difference, because I can do things like what Nick is saying. I can now start accepting him and go, that's okay. Do you know what I mean? It's just, it's not, I'm not weird. I'm not this quirky person that everyone says I am. I just don't like how an onion feels in my mouth and it makes me want to vomit. So I'm not going to eat them, which makes eating out really difficult because everything's got onions in. If you pulverize it to a pulp in something, I'll eat it, but I can't eat it if it's a proper onion. The same with like bananas and fruits. And the sensory thing as well, for me, it can ebb and flow. So I'm an old school raver. So I can stand next to a massive speaker and let it go boom, boom, boom into my soul and be the happiest person in the entire world. But then you can put me in like a conference or a meeting, well, maybe not a meeting, but like a conference, like a large, something with a large audience and lots of people moving about, or in a pub, and I can't understand what you're saying in front of me, and all the noise around me, and I'm starting, well, my teeth itch. I'm going to steal that, my teeth itch, and I'm just like, oh my God, and I start to get mad.
You're going to hate this. I'm so sorry.
Going,
I'm so sorry. This is, again, part of my neurospiciness. Dr. Jo has to go at 1 o'clock on the dot. She said at the beginning, but she's got her hand up.
That's true.
I really want to hear what she's got to say.
Dr. Jo, you go.
And yeah, you are Dr. Jo.
Thank you, Andy. I was just going to say, what you realize once you start living a life and you design your own life according to your sensory needs, you start to really appreciate how important it is, because actually your sensory experience interrupts every single thing you do, and like stress levels, hormones for women, capacity for parents, capacity for work, like it literally threads through everything. And one of the ways of trying to really understand that is starting to design a lifestyle and a routine that you feel like, just like start with your gut, just be like, right, when would I want to have my meetings or my door shut, like Gemma said? When is my like downtime? Or when is it that what environments is it that I kind of like feel quite stressed in, versus those sound speakers that like really make my soul feel quite alive? Like, once you start to play around and be really curious and start to design a lifestyle that suits your sensory needs, you'll see things in a really appreciative way. I do have to run, but thank you so much for having me, and lovely to meet you all.
No problem. And that was a really good thing to end on. You nailed it.
Bye.
Take care. I'll speak to you soon. Okay, so we are at 1 o'clock. We need to finish. Some people are going to start dropping off. I'm starting to see people dropping off now. So I'm just going to go around the room. I know that you've got your hand up, Andy, so I'll come back to you in a minute. We're going to go around the room and just let everyone, this is what we did yesterday, just round off with anything that you might not have the opportunity to say or that you feel like you would like to say. And anyone who has joined us, thank you very much. Anyone who downloads us later, thank you very much. If you want any of the details to contact any of the panelists for any further information, let me know and I'll make sure to connect you. And yeah, so Andy, as soon as your hand was up, you can go first if you want, and do your little roundup.
Oh, I was just going to say about the last thing we were talking about, sensory processing. So I can't stand being touched at all, and I've come to realise because all my other senses are on the fritz all the time, unless I'm completely drunk off my face, do not touch me. It's the way I manage my my stuff. So that's what I was going to say. So that's how I've managed to sort of, you know, be more self-aware, like Dr. Joe said, and all of that. Also, thank you very much for putting up with me. I'm sorry that I interrupted you, Ria, but I work really well with ADHD people who need to be brought back in and to times and stuff. This is my superpower. I love it. And so, yeah, it's been amazing. Thank you.
Awesome. Kirsty, do you want to go next, lovely? I know this was your first one. How have you found it?
So, is it working? Yes. So this has been fantastic. I love this. This was amazing. It is so great to be able to bounce off so many different people who are just incredibly authentic about themselves. I love that. I love the authenticity. I think it's just amazing. Just as a roundup, I guess I would
Hold on,
say
Gemma's got to go. I do apologise.
biggest thing
Gemma,
I've
do you want to
learned.
just say bye-bye?
Sorry, everyone. As you saw, my little human appeared and
Tiny
then has
person.
run off again. My husband's now got a meeting, so I'm going to have to go. But lovely to meet you all. I've just put my email address in the chat. I'm on LinkedIn. So if anybody wants to catch up or connect or talk about education, post-16, university in the workplace and things, please get in touch. But I have got a screen. She's now on the other side of the computer, Andy, wanting a dinner. So I'm going to go. But lovely to meet you all.
Come on.
See you
Right,
later.
I'll speak to you soon. I'll message you after, Gemma, all right?
Fab. See you later.
Sorry, Kirsty, she had to go. Tiny human cold.
No, that's absolutely fine. Oh man, I know that feeling. Normally when I have like these type of meetings, I have my mini bouncing on the bed behind me, so I totally get it. What was I gonna say now? Oh yes. So the one takeaway I think that I will give to everyone is something that as a parent I've learned: you have to be your own advocate. But a lot of the time, what you will find is when you ask for help, you will not get it. And we can sit and we can mope, and we can get frustrated and we can get angry and we can say, oh, this is so unjust. And it is. All of that is true. All of it. However, nothing is going to happen unless you take the initiative yourself to make sure that you can advocate either for yourself or for your child. And it is hard. It's so much stuff that you probably never thought in your life you would ever need to know. But again, when you're responsible for somebody else's life as a parent, and you know, when you're responsible for your own life, you have to realize that you are so important. And so, you know, if you're a parent, your child is so important. They and you deserve to have the best life. You deserve the accommodations that you need. You deserve everything, you know, to be treated equally and to have all your dreams met. Of course you deserve that. So please don't wait for other people to fight for you or for your kid. Do it yourself.
Get in, Kirsty. Get
So,
in.
do you want to do your roundup? Because I'm acutely aware we're now at 1:05.
Oh,
Me? Did you say sorry?
Anyone go.
You go, Sonia, this time, please.
okay. I was going to say, how do I follow Kirsty? I don't think I can. So I just want to say, yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ria, for putting this on. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, panelists. I've learned a lot from all of you as well. And I think this event actually shows how to do stuff for neurodivergent people, basically, or just for everyone. You know, you sent us an agenda beforehand. I felt comfortable to say, can you direct things at me if you want me to speak? And that is just an example of how to make environments inclusive, you know, and includes everyone, not just neurodivergent people as well. And yeah, if anyone wants, connect with me on LinkedIn, and yeah, I share loads of insights on there as well.
It was sent in your last message, Andy, and you know it was. Are you trying to have my eyes out?
I just don't read these things, I just sort of
So that
absorb
sounds like
information.
what's your words? That's a you thing.
Nick, let's hear from you.
I love how she got out of jail there. Well done.
I literally do this all day, every day, and I can't. The only thing I could think of is my ChatGPT searches are famous in our house because of my autistic, inquisitive nature. And I didn't need to go to school to learn who invented fire, why yeast exists, how yeast came about, because now I find out. But this morning I broke it because it still insists that my dog doesn't talk in English, and it does. It's wrong. All dogs talk in a human's native language. I'm not accepting it.
You are right, because my friend's dog is Turkish, but she actually knows Japanese because she's learned it from all the anime. And my cats just pretend not to understand English. You're right, GPT's wrong.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Right then. Thank you. I just want to say thank you very much again. And I do agree with that because my friend's dog's Belgium and you have to give orders to them in Belgium. So
Important.
So yeah, but that was a really important fact. And if you took nothing else away from today, just know that ChatGPT is wrong on occasions, and that dogs speak in their native language. If you took nothing else away, they're two important facts. But yes, I'm joking. I just want to say thank you so much once again for volunteering your time. I want to thank everyone that came. I'll be putting some clips out, and if you do want a copy of the recording, just send me a message and I'll get it sent across to you once it's downloaded. I'm very behind with comms at the moment, so bear with me. That's all I ask. But yes, thank you very much, and it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Right, bye.
Bye.